Hello everyone, Jai Hind. I am Major Mohammed Ali Shah and I have the proud privilege and honor to be in conversation with a very fine gentleman who's a human rights defender. He's also an anthropologist. And many times I've had the honor of being with him on television, on national television, on a lot of debates and discussions on concerning a lot of affairs in our everyday life. Let's speak to him since he's a human rights defender. Let's speak, and he's been to Manipur on ground several times on several occasions, and he's got very happy memory of Manipur and of the people over there, of all the tribes, all the communities. They are wonderful people. So let's come on and straight away go ahead. Let's be in conversation with none other than a man who needs no introduction at all, Sandeep Chachra. Sandeep Bhai, Jai Hind, and thank you very much for spending time, brother.
Namaste and Jai Hind to you and to all the viewers. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Bhai. Hey, you are a human rights defender. So there has been a lot of hue and cry about human rights in Jammu Kashmir and in the Manipur, and there has been opposition to the Armed Forces Special Power Act. I've served in the army, and I can tell you for sure that see, with authority comes responsibility, and with responsibility comes authority. So it's very difficult. I mean, if you say अफ्पा इसको कहते हैं popularly, अफ्पा हटा देते हैं, it's not that easy, it's not that simple to actually do away with AFPA, Armed Forces Special Power Act. I always say you can certainly make some amendments, make some changes, tweak it. But first, I would like to know your views on a controversial subject like Armed Forces Special Power Act. Right?
Before I come to that, let me greet everybody on the occasion of 154th birthday of Gandhiji today. Today is the day of non-violence internationally and the day of peace. So I want to celebrate that, and I'll come to AFSA in a while. So I think the message today, and my message today, is one of peace, non-violence, ahimsa. Let me reiterate that, and of peaceful existence. And just linked to that, let me say, Major Shah, is the question of how societies flourish. Peace is the bedrock on both which human rights flourish, societies flourish. We see greater social progress and advances with a precondition of peace. And sadly, that's not the situation today. But coming to your controversial question on about the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, let me put it the other way around, Major Shah. Has it really? And I think we should, the jury is yet not out. We should really assess it whether Armed Forces Special Power Act. I know in Manipur it's just been extended, and for years it's been going on a subject of popular contestation. But has it really led to any kind of stable peace? So the question is debatable question on whether extension of Special Powers Act leads to stable, sustainable peace. For the last 5 months, just to refer to Manipur, since you mentioned it, we've had unending cycles, if I may call it, of course lack of peace, but unending cycles of violence. I mean, the latest spiraling out of control, really, and societies are divided. There's a lot of mistrust. There's a lot of distrust. So I think we need to sort of put these things into perspective. States often assume powers to themselves. Let me put it that way. Yes, in outlier cases, these may be needed, but I do not think these are solutions for everything in terms of moving towards the kind of societies we wish, the kind of stable societies we wish, the kind of peaceful coexistence that we wish for. Manipur is a case to point, and I don't think this extension of AFSA is maybe a short-term measure. I would agree with you there, but this is going to really lead to any positive, significant outcomes. We haven't seen this in the last 5 months, or haven't seen this for a while now. So that's how I would like to sort of approach this question, Major Shah. And yeah, I mean, the context of extension of AFSA itself is a debatable question. So coming from that perspective is how I would like to sort of view it. You worked there, you've served there, you've been one of the let me call it, let me sort of praise you the way I've seen you, sir, and hats off to you, the soldier of peace. And I believe army really exists to maintain peace, through deterrence. So in some ways, this is a call which needs a lot of societal discussion. In my opinion, a lot of social consensus. I think sometimes these extension can add to triggers, and we have seen that in the past in the case of Manipur, for instance, where they've had considerable distrust, where they've led to considerable questioning within, if I may call, the broader civil society. And I think these need to be, let me say, approached with a lot of caution. That's how I would like to sort of put it, Major Shah.
That is very well said by you. Very, very well said by you, in fact. No, I have always believed that, okay, if we, the only way forward is to win hearts and minds, and by making people believe that we, as armed forces, are there for them, to protect them, not to intimidate them. We are there only for them. We are staying away from their families for them. Well, and you are a great believer in non-violence, and I truly appreciate that because I am a soldier for peace similarly. So now, Sandeep bhai, I would like to also know your experience on ground in a beautiful state like Manipur. When you had gone there to Manipur, how was it like? Your first, let's talk about your first experience in Manipur. And was it
It's a
what you
beautiful,
had thought?
well, it's a beautiful valley, number one. Yeah, it's a beautiful hillside, number two. And I think I think Manipur. I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that a place like Manipur. I've worked with many Manipuris. I've studied with many Manipuris. I work with Action Aid Association, and we work on the ground. Even today, we work on the relief camps in terms of humanitarian support and so on and so forth. So my sense that there is no stopping for Manipur to attain the levels of welfare, the levels of freedom, the levels of peace, the aspirations that a lot of Manipuris have. My impressions of Manipur are one of happiness, one of beauty, one of peace. But sadly, let me also put it, fault lines are there. I mean, one recognizes it when one travels from the valley to the hills, across the east-west highway, for instance, in other areas where my organization works and I've had the opportunity to travel. There are deep fault lines, and I think some of those issues which run deep in the history of Manipur over centuries and are being escalated need to be addressed. I've always believed that justice is the bedrock on which peace can be maintained and advanced. And some of those issues, underlying issues, for instance, of land, for instance, of this whole question which came up of the desire for tribal status among the Meiteis, the fears that invoked across the issues which have always come up, the questions of poppy cultivation, for instance. There are those issues which are vexed issues and which need a lot of social dialogue, which need a lot of discussion socially, but also politically to be resolved. I think once those are resolved, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that there would be, sort of, we are a very diverse country. Manipur likewise is a very diverse state and society itself, and there is no absolute doubt in my mind. There's no doubt at all that diversity is the biggest strength that Manipur has. And I think some of these issues, provided they're addressed, will lead to a situation where Manipur progresses. The memories that I have, the realities that I see today while traveling to Manipur, the sort of discussions that I've had with Manipuri activists, with Manipuri social organizations, with Manipuri students, I mean, absolutely gave me a lot of hope. But sadly, the last 5 months have been a huge scar, if I may call it, on the way I have seen Manipur, Major Shah.
Right. And Bablu, the human rights activist, he was with you. In fact, he's a lawyer. He's a reputed lawyer advocate. I had the honor of interviewing him as well. He and you were fellow students at one time, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right?
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. Bablu and me have had some common past. We're both anthropologists. We happened to study together a couple of years apart in the Department of Anthropology, and we shared a long sort of. I mean, even then, I remember discussing many of these issues with Bablu, and Bablu's desire to see these addressed. So it's good that he was here. I would have loved to sort of see his show here. Thank you.
We would also like to explain to our viewers, the connection between anthropology and human rights, because a lot of people we have observed who have studied anthropology, they stand for human rights. Like many people must, should, they should. But I have studied the basics of anthropology of human behavior because before I joined the army, when I was doing theater and I was doing workshops on acting and such things, it was very important for us to learn psychology and anthropology, the study of human behavior. So, what would be the link and the connection of anthropology and human rights, Sandeep bhai?
Very nice and lovely question you're asking to an anthropologist. So thank you, thank you, Major Shah, for asking that. You see, anthropology, I mean, irrespective of the origins of anthropology, which is a debate whether it was a colonial enterprise, but let me not get there in this discussion. The point is, anthropology is a study of diverse societies. It's a study of what I call its traditions, are traditions of deep respect for the diversities people have, for the customary diversities, the cultural diversities, the question of coexistence within recent and sort of deeper histories, the issue, the fault lines, and so on and so forth. So, in some ways, the premise of anthropology, the central premise, is respect for human agency, is respect for human creativity, is respect for the desire of humans to create a better future for themselves. So that's the basic desire. And in that, anthropology is no different from what you call the subject of human rights, a subject which essentially means being and becoming, the flourishing of human beings in to the best of their abilities, a set of systems, societies, processes which allow people through the agency called rights, through the agency, in the sense of being what they want to be and becoming what they wish to become. So, in some ways, anthropology and human rights, if I may sort of push it there, have similar basic thinking and values. But as you know, the discourses have evolved differently over time, Major Shah. So one can't say that anthropology is equal to human rights and human rights is equal to anthropology. Anthropology remains a much wider sort of a think process, if I may call it, a relational process, if I may call it. That's how I look at it. But yeah, you're right. A lot of anthropologists tend to be votaries of free societies, tend to be votaries of societies, diverse societies, tend to be votaries of peaceful coexistence, tend to be votaries where societies advance themselves to becoming, to becoming great societies, to becoming, tolerant societies, to become societies. We are a very diverse world and a diverse country which coexist together, who lead each other to greater levels of creativity and therefore of social and human progress. That's how I look at it, Major Shah.
Right, very beautifully answered by you. In fact, I one more important question I want to ask you. I would like to understand from you. That there is a lot of human cry normally whenever there are talks on human rights are concerned, and the armed forces, the security forces, unfortunately, are always projected and painted as the villains over there. Whenever a talk of human rights comes along anywhere in the world, but there is no one who talks about the human rights of the soldiers because they're also human beings. And we talk about human rights, I think every single human being, their rights need to be discussed, but no one talks about human rights of the soldiers. I've never seen that happen. I was just a couple of minutes back, just before I logged into the conversation with you. I was in conversation with General Mahajan, who everyone saw the viral video of when he was retiring from the army and he went and hugged his mother, he saluted his mother, and the video had gone viral and ode to his mother. So soldiers stay away from their families, away from their loved and near and dear ones. They sacrifice their lives, but yet no one talks on the human rights of soldiers. Why is that so, Sandeep?
Let me put it this way. First of all, a disclaimer: a part of my family is army soldiers. Yeah? Is deeply wedded to the army, have been soldiers over generations. So that's a part of my family, and that's my disclaimer to begin with. Yeah, but having said that, let me put it this way. See, in my definition or any definition of human rights are indivisible. Number one, Major Shah. Number two, they are universal. So the question of individual rights, the question of collective rights, does not make distinction between who's in the army and who's not. We as human beings are born with human rights. So whether people talk about it or not, because sometimes it gets polemical, maybe that's why they don't, and it's contextual, maybe that's why they don't. But in any opinion, in any right opinion or right thinking opinion in the world, soldiers as much sort of holders of human rights as any of us are, and as much as much in a sense, the question of being whether somebody talks about it or not, have therefore the protection of human rights with them. The issue is not so much about rights of soldiers. The question is also when you are serving for a state, when you are serving for an institution, that I think leads to the debate, the kind of debates you are talking about. That many civil society activists, human rights defenders such as myself, would tend to see the perspective of rights from the perspective of the powerless, where institutions of the state, such as the army or the police, are seen as powerful. So, in some ways, that's probably the debate you're referring to, Major Shah.
Right. That's you have. I think you have answered all the questions so beautifully well, and you have given a lot of clarity to a lot of things. I think before we let you go, we would like to ask you any last message you would like to throw out in the universe from your side, be it on anything.
I think two things, sir. First of all, I want to laud you and applaud you for actually being a soldier, for having a conversation on human rights and peace. So I think my salam to you, my jai Hind to you. Lovely. So that's the first thing I want to say. Secondly, this is a time when I would like to pass and share the message of peace. We have a world which is deeply riddled with conflicts at this moment. Ukraine war has been going on for close on to about 18 months, I think 19 months by now. In Manipur, we are seeing a vexed sort of a situation, killings. Hundreds of people have lost life and are in camps. Thousands, tens of thousands are in camps. So I think, I mean, one can go on and on. I think our world today is a world where a century when we wanted a peaceful world, but the 21st century hasn't quite turned out like that. We have seen in the last decade many wars and conflicts. So my message, being Gandhi Jayanti today, but even otherwise, my message is a message of ahimsa, reiterating the social messaging of ahimsa, reiterating the need for non-violent communication, reiterating the need to set alternate histories, Major Shah, histories which are built on the deep traditions that we have, in the long traditions that we have, traditions of truth, traditions of love, traditions of compassion, traditions of tolerance, and traditions of coexistence. So, my message going out to all your listeners and through you, Major Shah, is to reiterate and be a soldier of peace like you are. Be a civil soldier of peace for a society which is built on the foundation of peace and justice. For one, where our younger generations can flourish themselves and not be saddled by the burdens of history, which need to be put in a dustbin. Those burdens of conflict, those burdens of ethnicity, those burdens of polarization based on religion, ethnicity, based on pre existing identities. So that's what I would like to share with your viewers. Since you gave me the opportunity and a wonderful opportunity, I'd like to thank you and express gratitude for having me on your show, Major Shah. Thank you.
Thank you for taking our time from your busy schedule, Sandeep Bhai. Truly grateful, and you threw some wonderful insights. Thank you very much. Lots of love. Take care. Jai Hind.